So let's talk about this Pacers versus Celtics game. We got our first game of the in-season tournament yesterday with the Pacers versus Celtics game to decide the semifinals. Now, of course, we also got the other game, which was the Pelicans versus Sacramento, and yesterday was really an exciting time for basketball, especially with the NBA. They haven't had any scheduling problems yet, and it's really looked good for the league this in-season tournament. It's been filling up arenas, it's been making people go to the games, and it's really been a great ambiance for the league when it comes to the, way that these arenas are looking. Like yesterday in the Pacers arena, even though the attendance only says 93%, like if you hear the game when it was going on, it was loud. People were screaming, people were going, and they were, really like shouting their lungs out for this game because they actually care about this tournament. In the group play stages, people care about this tournament. And in general, when people look at this tournament now, it seemed pretty favorable for the league. And I want to say shout out to Adam Silver. Before the NBA season started, I'm pretty sure I had said that I didn't know if the tournament was going to work 100% because of the engagement. Or at least that I didn't know if there was going to be that many, that much fan attention to this game. And I had always said it, like I always voiced my opinion that even though I love, the idea for this tournament, and I had said that I think it's a good thing for the league, I also thought that, how much is this tournament going to affect the regular season? And I can say that it really has. I'm going to talk about the two games in this video, but especially with this Indiana versus Pacers game, what we can see is a clear shift of, importance for these teams. Like both of these teams were going at it with each other. They were just going back and forth and back and forth. And I'm talking about the Celtics and the Pacers game because they were just going crazy. We saw the Celtics and the Pacers trade clutch time buckets, make clutch time decisions. And when we looked at the game was amazing. We saw a lot of highlights. We saw the Pacers doing Pacers things, shooting it from way too deep. And honestly, I really enjoyed this game and the way that it happened, especially in real time. Another thing that happened with this, game was the fact that the Celtics figured it out and then they blew it, And the reason why I say that is because if you watch the game, originally the Celtics had a huge lead, They were, well, not a huge lead, but they looked extremely good. And they looked like they had actually figured it out. They looked confident, they looked strategic, and they looked like they were actually on the pace, to beat the Kings because they were just abusing their pace. They knew that they were bigger, stronger, more skilled than the Pacers, so they were just playing them slow. And the problem was that in the end of the third quarter to the start of the fourth quarter, even though the Celtics were scoring, they were pushing that pace much faster, which is something that makes Indiana wins a lot of games. If you watch any Indiana games this season, you can see that they try to get the opposite team to push the pace because there's not as many teams that can play that fast pace the way that they can. They have guys like Buddy Hield, Tyrese Halliburton. They have other guys, like Aaron Nesmith. They have Miles Turner, which can make quick decisions and just put up shots and not have to worry about the percentages. Of course, they shoot well and they're great players, but they're players who are being assisted on every play. They have a great point guard, which complements their skill set, and it's made for them to always be able to have a safe layer, to their offense or their defense whenever they have, to score, because it's very easy for them when every single play Tyrese Halliburton touches the ball and makes a great decision. and that, let's just say, Tyrese Halliburton is amazing. So for this team, the Celtics could have just played them slower, slow down the pace of the game, run out that shot clock, get effective shots, if not get free throws, and they would have won this game by like 30 points. But they didn't. It cost them the game. And then, we have to look at the other game. By the way, I do want to say shout out to Jaylen Brown for making every clutch time bucket. It seemed like. Shout out to Jason Tatum because he had a good game, even though he just started throwing shots up there. And obviously, shout out to Tyrese and Buddy Hield, which both went crazy. Also, shout out to the Pacers because they made 47% from their shots from three. The Pacers won by 10 points. They advanced to the next stage of the in-season tournament. The Celtics were officially eliminated as it is now a one-game system. For the Pelicans, this game was crazy. And for the Pelicans in Sacramento, the Pelicans won under Brandon Ingram's 30 points, which was a crazy scoring night as they were down like 19 in the first quarter, or they were down like 17. They had a great game where they were just pretty effective. And honestly, the Pelicans' biggest thing was their defense. They got out in transition. They got a lot of steals. And they were able to get in the lanes of guys like De'Aaron Fox. Even though De'Aaron Fox did have a good game, from three, he couldn't shoot. And they forced 6 turnovers on him. Apart from that, you had a guy like Sabonis, which had a triple-double and only missed 4 shots. He was absolutely incredible. You could have not expected anything more from him in this game. That's probably the best performance that we could have seen. And he had 5 offensive rebounds to total that with 2 steals and a block. Shout out to Domantas Sabonis because he played great. Malik Monk, another guy who actually played amazing. And Keegan Murray also played pretty well with the shots that he was given. So Sacramento played well. They played effectively, or at least the guys which mattered played well. And the only problem is that New Orleans just played better. They shot 54% from the field as a team, 45% from 3 as a team, and 82% from the free throw line. Meanwhile, having 12 steals as a team and 7 blocks as a team, just completely beating Sacramento stats by a lot. The biggest thing for them was their effectiveness. They, had guys like Herbert Jones, which stepped up, and Brandon Ingram and Zion, which even though he didn't take a lot of shots, he did have 3 steals and 6 assists with 1 offensive rebound, which really affected his team in a positive way. Apart from this, you had guys like C.J. McCollum and Trey Murphy III, which also had good games. But really, with the Pelicans, it was just a group effort. It was just what the Pelicans wanted and what they want their, basketball to look like. This is what they shoot for. They always try to play effective basketball and make good reads. And honestly, in this game, apart from Brandon Ingram's just absolute show that he put on, it was an amazing game for the Pelicans because after the first quarter, they were going crazy with Brandon Ingram absolutely diming it to anyone who could receive it on the court. Facts. But yeah, so as I see these 2 games and as we see the highlights and the good parts and the bad parts and who won and who lost, I want to say first that my prediction was wrong. Sacramento is not winning. New Orleans won. And the Celtics are not winning. The Pacers won. But apart from that, I want to say that the in-season tournament is amazing. I love this tournament. This is really good basketball being displayed at a really high level. And in December, I'm getting games which I'm actually excited for the result. I'm not saying that the regular season normally is trash, but it is a way of spicing up the season with a tournament, which just, if you win, you get money and a trophy, an accomplishment. And if you don't, then whatever, you just keep going. You're still going to play your regular games of the season. Now these teams get to play in Vegas with a big stage. They get to have, great games and be able to actually show themselves out. And honestly, I see this in-season tournament lasting a while because apart from brands, being able to invest in these games because they're such high watchability for these games, there's also an amazing feeling when you can watch a game and it's important in the middle of the season. Shout out to the in-season tournament. Shout out to all these games, and I will be watching more in-season tournament games as they come. I love this tournament. It's amazing. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say for this video. Peace.